Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone podcast. My name is Kathy. Late last week, on or about Friday, May 23rd, 2025, the clerk of court released a document which was filed by the state of Idaho back on May 14th, 2025. There was no explanation that appears on the record as to why this public document was held that long, but it is now available for you to review. It is called Notice of Compliance. And this essentially has to do with the state of Idaho giving notice of compliance relative to a matter that the parties were court ordered to do back on October 8th, 2024 in a document that was published the 9th of October 2024. It's the pre-trial and trial order, which is the way that I like to refer to it because it has all of the steps that needed to be taken leading up to trial in this matter. Relative to this notice of compliance, it states that the state of Idaho, by and through Latah County Prosecuting Attorney, hereby provides notice that the state has filed a log spreadsheet identifying which defense exhibits the state is objecting to and the basis of the objections, and those to which there are no objections, all pursuant to the court's October 8th, 2024 unredacted sealed order governing further criminal proceedings and a notice of trial setting. And as stated, you actually have to look at the docket for October 9th, 2024 to read this order. This notice continues by saying the parties met on May 8th, 2025 to determine objections to exhibits. The state inquired regarding the relevance of several defense exhibits and was unable to obtain a response from defense counsel. Consequently, the state has noted relevance objections to those exhibits. So here we at least see what some of the objections to this spreadsheet, which is not published, unfortunately, on the docket, and to the exhibits themselves, which are also not released to the public. In addition, the state continues here. The state is unclear which exhibits will be relied upon at the guilt phase versus the penalty phase. The state has noted objections to the exhibits being offered in the guilt phase. And going back to this court order, the court has ordered what it amounts to as a bifurcated trial. The trial order states that the commencement of the case in chief, where opening arguments will be given, starts August 11th, 2025 and continues through November 7th, 2025, inclusive of a second matter, the penalty phase, if necessary, is what that court order states, referring to the fact that a penalty or a sentencing phase would only come into play if there were a conviction in this case. This notice concludes by saying the state reserves the right to object to any of the listed exhibits if the exhibits are offered for another purpose than what was previously discussed with defense counsel on May 8th, 2025. So we see the state of Idaho, including the fact that if these exhibits should happen to show up for another reason, offered for another reason than what was discussed, well, they reserve the right to object to Judge Hippler to the admissibility of them at trial. This is signed by Ashley S. Jennings on behalf of the state. And it should be noted that there was a second notice of compliance. It is the amended notice of compliance that the state filed on the 22nd of May 2025, which essentially raises these same objections that you might also want to take a look at. We will await to see if the defense files something in response to this amended notice of compliance and notice of compliance, and if and when there is such a response, we will of course update you. This concludes this episode of the Indie Zone. Thanks for joining us today.